So excited for ski mountaineering at the Milano Cortina Olympics in 2026, and we've been discovering more about the sport recently through several different athletes. And today I'm pumped to learn more about the sport and our athlete's journey, because she is right now one of the best going around in Australia. She has had a very successful career in the sport, not just ski mountaineering, but some other sports as well, and is primed to punch a ticket, hopefully soon, to become Australia's first ever female athlete in the sport of ski mountaineering. I'm so excited to learn more about her and the sport of ski mountaineering. Lara Hamilton is with us now. Lara, welcome to Off the Podium.
Hey, how are you going?
I am going fantastic, Lara. How are you going? You're speaking to me from France right now, much more exotic sounding than Melbourne, and I guess probably a little bit nicer weather going on right now at this time of year, I can imagine, in France.
You would think so, but it's actually a lot warmer than usual. And there's been a lot of smoke in the air from fires. So whilst it's really nice early in the morning or later in the evening, the days actually are a bit of a struggle to get out and train just with those two factors combined. So
I can imagine that. Does that mean just more gym days, basically? Do you kind of have to make the most of that, or do you just sort of look for the gaps in the smoke, or kind of look for the areas where you can actually train right now?
Yeah, I try to go early or later, but I am still kind of in a process of recovering from the last race and getting over actually heat stroke. So it's a balancing act right now, and then I have another race this weekend. So it's
wow.
There can be some more gym time and less running time at the moment.
And we will touch on the fact that when you're, say, racing right now, you are running right now. You're not obviously skiing at the moment, but I guess kind of that combines into what we'll talk about with ski mountaineering, because you've got a very diverse background, Lara, in terms of all the sports that you sort of compete in. But so this is it Trail Running World Cup? Sort of what is the actual competitions you are involved in right now we're speaking?
It's Mountain and Trail Running World Cups, yeah. So anything, out in the high mountains.
Fantastic. Which is why is this not an Olympic sport? I'm really getting into the deep question straight away, Lara, because I mean, this is an entertaining sport. It's great. It's fun. I mean, we've got so many mountain disciplines of other sports. Why don't we have it for running?
I can actually answer that question. Until the sports anti-doping policies are at the same level and consistency across the board, across major events, particularly where prize money is concerned, is on par with other Olympic sports, which, to speak positively of trail running, there just needs to be more funding to allow for more comprehensive drug testing. Some events are doing such a good job of this. Some events just don't have the funding or maybe even the education. It's hard to say.
Wow.
But that has to improve before the sport can then progress onto that Olympic level. Interesting.
I've never quite heard a sport be described in that way, where that's what is, I guess, preventing it from being at that stage. I mean, we hear different reasons of different sports, but that's fascinating that kind of is the reason. But I guess it's the goal is of the sport to get that under control so that it can push to be an Olympic sport one day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's other factors, but this is just one that I know from attending lots of anti-doping lectures and, being in a testing pool and things like that I understand is one of the causes. Yeah.
What is, again, we're here to talk about ski mountaineering, but we're on this topic. I'm fascinated by it, Lara. But what is the World Cup scene like for the sport? Like when you're doing that, like, is it all just high peaks of European mountains, or you get to go to other, great parts of the world to compete as well?
Yeah, so there's lots of different disciplines within the World Cups. So there's long course, which would be something like Sierre-Zinal, which I raced not this previous weekend, but the one before, and that's around 32 kilometers and takes really amazing runners anywhere from 2 hours, 30 minutes, maybe 25 if you're Killian, right up into like 340s, for that like top end of the field.
Wow.
And then you have verticals, so just straight up races. Then you have classic format, which is up down races. And there's a series of them in all different countries, from China to Italy to Slovenia this coming weekend, which is the finals, and you accumulate points. And then at the end, there's also overall rankings for each discipline, and then overall rankings for everything.
Fantastic. And does this stem from, obviously we'll touch on some of your background and sort of where you get through your sports, but obviously you were a pretty handy cross-country runner back in the day, a national champion under 20 at one point. Like, does that sort of just pursue that desire, I guess, to kind of take it further when it comes to that level of running?
Yeah, I fell into running kind of on accident, and it was a blessing because I think I didn't really overthink anything. I just ran and I
Like
did
Forrest Gump.
well. Yeah, literally, I just rock up. I don't even know if I knew how to warm up. It took me and my coach, a second to learn how things are done. And then I progressed onwards from there, doing the proper thing, warming up. But yeah, it grew a love for the more competitive side of sports. I was a Nordic skier and I was competing, but I wasn't having that much success. And running, I found some success pretty quickly and progressed pretty quickly, which is often what happens. And then fell into trail running. And the way that I got to trail running is a little different and has to do with health issues more so than anything, but it is a blessing in disguise because I love it more than just road running or track running, which doesn't really stimulate my mind. I need variety.
How did you initially get involved in Nordic skiing? Because this obviously will combine what we're going to get to eventually with SkiMo, but obviously for people listening outside of Australia, not a common sport that a lot of Australians grow up with, putting on some skis and going skiing in their childhood.
Yeah. Well, I feel pretty lucky that I was given an opportunity just with family interests to go skiing on the weekends. Pack the car up on the Friday afternoon straight after school, drive the 6.5 hours from Sydney and race or ski all weekend, and then come home really late on Sunday night. And I thought that was an absolute hoot. Dad grew up skiing, Nordic skiing, and competing for Australia around the world on the World Cup. Mum found a love of skiing too, and us kids were raised to downhill ski and learn properly, and then Nordic ski as well, which became the main activity because you don't have to buy lift passes, it's cheaper, and it's more endurance focused, which naturally I became more inclined to rather than a strength and power based sport like downhill skiing.
I always love just hearing how Australian skiers on the show get involved because obviously with those sort of three distinct disciplines, generally a lot of people say, oh, I tried Nordic, tried Alpine, tried freestyle. But to me, I mean, I'm not a skier, Lara. I tried it once and I gave up. I was a wimp. But if I had to choose, and I'm not just saying this because I'm speaking to somebody with a Nordic skiing background, Nordic's the one that always fascinates me the most. I think that to me seems like it is the more unique, like just as you say, you don't need ski passes. You don't have to go super fast down really hill. You don't have to flip and do tricks on the moguls and get sore knees. Like it's just, to me, it's just skiing, enjoying scenery. I know there's more to it than that, but it's the one that fascinates me the most. So I love chatting to people who do that sport.
Yep. There's no edges either though, and your heels come out. So you might not go off moguls and crash, but for sure coming around a corner too hot will put you in the same predicament in a bush. So
just that way. Because it's also like the thing that's always interesting when it comes to speaking to endurance athletes is that there are some people who will really get into say like fun runs and they want to push to a half marathon, marathons. And then some people look at it and go like, why do you do that? Why do you push yourself to that limit where you're in torture, you're going that long? But there is just something about an endurance athlete when you're pursuing that absolute desire. Was that always just the way that you looked at sort of sports that way? That was all endurance and that was always kind of just pushing yourself to those limits and know everything you achieved and doing what you're obviously ultimately doing right now?
I think I know within me a part that loves progress and loves seeing what happens when you dedicate yourself to something and you build something and then get to see how that pays off later. And then not only that, bringing in the mountain factor, you're testing your limits in nature with things that were there. It's not any man-made, like whilst man makes trails, like you get to test yourself up a mountain on different varieties of terrain. And I think that's awesome. There's something kind of wild about it and like thrilling, and there's nothing like pushing yourself to the top of a mountain and then just letting it rip on the downs, whether that's like running or skiing. And I think that's such a beautiful thing.
Some of the most beautiful scenery too for any athlete, right? Like to be in that level of nature. And as you say, like obviously you've got to create a trail somewhere, but it's not like, you're completely mowing down something to a point where it almost destroys. Like I feel like that's a sport, any type of Nordic or ski mountaineering or that, where you can very much keep lots of things quite pristine, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of destruction going on compared to some other sports that would be doing something like that.
Yeah, if it's managed correctly, for sure. Every country is different, and it's been fascinating in my travels to kind of see how the forests and the trails are maintained and kept and looked after, and how invested the community is. But if it's done properly, yes, like you can involve yourself in trail-based sports and minimally disrupt the environment. Like there's always going to be disruption, but best practice.
What was the Nordic scene like when you were skiing when you were younger in New South Wales? Were there many people getting involved, or were they kind of more, turned to the brighter lights of a freestyle or an alpine or something along those lines?
It was super close knit. I cannot say what it's like now. I'm sure it still has elements of that, but the sport, it's growing, and that's a good thing. I would rock up at the Nordic shelter in Perisher and know who I was going to see and have friends, and you're racing your friends. And we had the New South Wales squad, the state team, and we would go out for sessions a few times a day. And one of those sessions was always based on more like fun. And you're doing drills, but you don't really realize, because maybe you're like tossing a ball around on skis, trying to like get those balance adaptations, things like that. So I just saw it as another community I had up there that always felt welcoming, always felt safe. And then I noticed as I traveled at 17, I went to Austria to improve my Nordic skiing, and at 15, Canada. And when I would go on those camps, I noticed whenever I found a Nordic center or a Nordic shelter, it was that same energy. And I came to the conclusion that that is a place that I am welcome no matter where I am in the world. And I love that about the community.
Fantastic. That's always nice to hear that level throughout the world when it kind of travels that way. I did read though, Lara, at one point you wanted to be a professional surfer. Did you ever pursue that much? I mean, a bit of a stretch away from Nordic skiing, of course.
I laugh at myself because I was like, I think I love so many things, and I'm just like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Yes, well, the problem with that was whilst I surfed a lot and can't even remember learning to surf, I just knew because Dad put me on a board and would push me on the wave, and my little sister as well. We lived like at best 15, 20 minutes from the beach, and the kids that grew up right on the beachfront were always better than me. I can paddle my little heart out a couple times a week, but I'm not there before school every day surfing. So I realized that maybe this was an unrealistic expectation, and I did try to compete at university games, and I didn't really do that well. And it always depends on the swell that you've been presented in the competition and your time slot. Maybe you get the crappiest conditions possible. But yeah. And then the main thing that turned me away was actually I realized I would rather keep surfing as something that I do as a hobby, like sacred, than compete. Because even now, feeling some pressure from different sides, just a lot going on, I'm like craving going to the ocean, going surfing, and just sitting out there and, looking into the never-ending horizon and waiting for the next set to come. That's a meditative place for me and really special.
I love the way you sort of describe that. And sort of you need that outlet, don't you, through all the competitiveness that you're obviously doing through the running and the skiing and everything along those lines, that you at least have an outlet to kind of get that energy out and meditate essentially.
Yeah, and what's great is me and my housemate, we organised in probably exactly a month, just a 3-day trip down to maybe it's up. Yeah, it's up to Hossega, a famous surf break here. And it's a couple weeks out from a really big competition, but it is maybe it seems weird to people that I would do this, but going there and surfing and doing a different sport and still doing some running is the best thing for my mind before I need to really lock in and start focusing for those bigger efforts.
Did you ever harbour desire growing up, be it through Nordic skiing, running, surfing? I mean, if that was at that point in time on the cusp of being on the Olympics, dreams to go to an Olympic Games one day?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and maybe it's a fairly common experience for kids who are really athletic and have, just a strong pull to high-level sports. But I just, for some reason, wanted to go to the Olympics, and it started with Nordic skiing. Then it was surfing, and then it was track running. And then I went through some health issues, and those things no longer became possible. And then I found trail running, and it kind of didn't die off. It just I wasn't thinking about it. And then I heard that SkiMo was going to be in the Olympics, and I was already practicing SkiMo, but not in the way that it is. My skis were very heavy. I actually had frame bindings, 1998. Amazing. So heavy to drag up the mountain, but like you get strong pretty fast. You're just moving so slow. Backcountry skiing, right? And then I got my first lightweight set up by trading some marketing with some efforts because I couldn't afford it. Just some nifty ways to get your first set of SkiMo skis, and just started doing it and learning through other people and going on YouTube and watching videos. And yeah, here I am.
How did you actually initially hear of SkiMo? Was this something you were familiar with, or did you sort of just get introduced to it at some point?
Early 2020s, I just saw people doing it at the resort. Some of my friends in trail running were doing this, and I was intrigued. I was like, wow, I don't have to use these heavy bindings. I'm going to invest in a pair of these and just follow them. So I did that. And when I moved to Colorado, whilst I did do this in Boise, Idaho, in the ski resort above the town, everyone was doing it. So I would literally just join the crowd as the lift shuts at 4:30 and start going up and down and up and down, because there's so much snow in Colorado in the winter, and it's an excellent way to stay fit and train, and for the mental health, having a bit of a break from pounding the pavement all the time.
Yeah, for sure. So when it gets announced that it's officially going to be at the Olympics, and you sort of touched on, okay, this might let a bit of that spark again, like, what do you do from there? Do you automatically just start entering competitions? Do you train a little bit hard? Do you ring up the AOC and go, hey guys, Lara Hamilton here, I want to be your first Olympian in 2026? Like, kind of, what's the process then to kind of push towards that goal?
I can't remember when they first announced that it was going to be in the Olympics. I think at first it was like maybe, but I might be wrong. Other people would definitely know a lot more about that than me. But I was already doing some verticals just with the Colorado Cup Series, really accessible races that in terms of entry, and people were always driving down so you could like hitch a ride. And so I was already kind of doing some competing. I was actually avoiding the sprint because I was like, I have no idea what's going on there. So I was doing individuals and verticals only. And then it was announced it was a sprint. And I thought, oh, I better learn. What better way to learn than doing your really first real sprint at the US National Championships and then the second ever sprint at the World Cup finals? I was like, oh, way to be thrown into the deep end. I think actually it's such a good way of doing things because you really learn fast. And as an adult, I say that lightly because, I'm in my 20s, but I'm still learning all the time. You have to be open to being like a kid, like absorbing information, failing, and yeah, like learning to get better and be open to that, not criticism necessarily, but constructive criticism.
And I guess it's also a case too, because the sport, at least at the level it's at now that we're about to see in the Olympics, is still so young that you are, I guess, surrounded by so many athletes who are in that very similar position. You're not just like getting back into cross-country skiing that's been around, since the beginning of the Olympics. This is a sport where everybody next year will be not only making their debut at the Olympic, the sport's making their debut. So you're kind of surrounded by athletes in similar situations.
Yeah. I know for sure that if you say you grew up in Europe, you maybe had more resources to learn it from a younger age. Some of these races are historical and like Pierre Menta, and you would be doing transitions in those races quickly to, reduce the time and get a higher position at the end of the race. But the sprint format is relatively new. And so there are learning curves for all of us. And I think that's a fun part of it is I have never really done a sport that requires so many smaller steps to specialize. In a longer distance race, you can make some more mistakes, but still do pretty well. This one, being so short, really requires a lot of concentration on technique and specificity. And I have actually welcomed that with open arms, which I didn't know I was capable of, because my whole life I've done long distance events and like surfing where you're paddling and you pick a wave based on how it looks and have to think about where you drop in. But once you're on the wave, you're on the wave. Like, whereas this has bindings and waxing and skins and transitions and downhills and like picking your turn lines and how you're going to approach this jump in the course and all of it. And I think that's awesome.
We had Max Drew on recently, and he was sort of explaining the ins and outs of the sport and kind of giving us a taste of what it was and explaining the sprint format. And I sort of compared it in a way to, I think, the development we're seeing of sport climbing in the Summer Olympics. That when that first started, it was just like a combination event. Let's combine all the disciplines. Then they separated it into 2 for Paris, and then we're about to see it separated into the 3 distinct disciplines that we will see in LA. So it seems to me that maybe we're going to see that with SkiMo, that perhaps like this is just a bit of a test run. Let's see what we're going to have in Milano Cortina. Then maybe by the French Alps, let's add the vertical. And then by Salt Lake 2034, we've got other disciplines, because it's, I guess, you got to see how it works in an Olympics, right? There's a fine line between a sport climbing and not disrespecting the sport that we saw last year in Paris, but then breaking, that's clearly maybe going to be a one and done. So like I guess it's sort of that level where it can grow, and then potentially come French Alps 2030, you might be able to specialize back in the vertical or something along those lines.
Yeah, and that would be awesome. It would be awesome to see the sport grow at an Olympic level and have more disciplines be introduced. But again, we have to see, I think, if it's going to be successful at this Olympics. And then, if they decide to carry it on to the next one. I don't know if it's officially announced that they are carrying it on, but for sure, at the moment, this is a test event. So we have to make the most of the opportunity that's given to the sport, even if it isn't necessarily like the crown of the sport, which would be considered the individual, but it has an opportunity to be shown to the world, to be introduced to the world. And that is something to be grateful for. And
it is just one of these ones, the more and more I talk to athletes from it and see the footage of it, I can't not see this being a big hit, because it is just so darn fun to watch from what I have seen of it.
It is.
And it's one of these ones that I feel that we can sit here as a supposed podcast where we're talking all things Olympics, and until we see it though, Lara, until we're like, this is what these people do, we're like, fuck, that's great. Let's see more of that shit. Come on, bring it on.
Yes, the knockout round format is really cool. Like, I've been knocked out, obviously, and I have watched it, and I've cheered my friends, because you have to realize SkiMo is small on the World Cup level. It's like a traveling, you see your friends at all the stops from all the different countries and you say hi. And even now, at the athlete center here, I'm running into my friends from different countries. And I shared a run with my French friend from, I was about to say my French friend from France. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Good way.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And that's such a cool thing. I come off the SkiMo season with a high, because I might finish my race that day, and I get to sit and watch them, push to find out who's going to finish in the top podium position. And I think if I have that joy, the audience will have the same joy, and they'll get to know the personalities and the people behind the sport, because, we've done the World Cups, and then it's the people from the World Cups going, and probably in other sports, it's very similar. So it's like high level sport, but you're racing your friends. That's a really cool thing.
But the thing also that I'm finding too, and speaking to so many SkiMo athletes, is that you're also good at trying to promote the sport. You have a fantastic website, Lara. It makes my job very, very easy when I get prepared to do the interviews. Max does a great YouTube channel with blogs and everything, and so many other athletes are doing blogs and TikToks and Instagrams and everything, which it all seems like you're on the same page, like going into that community. You're all wanting to achieve the same thing of obviously do very well on the world stage, but help grow this sport and make people realize this sport is bloody fantastic.
Yeah. It's a way to move in the mountains. Look, the gear's expensive, and you save on lift pass. You save on lift passes though, and you get to climb and see things that you really can only see on foot, and access these beautiful areas and access fresh powder.
Yeah.
Come on, like, you earn your turns, and that, that's the crux of it, is the best days out, and like they're memorable. I can remember all the details. Is you climb this peak, you're looking at the view, and then you rip the skins off, and it's time to shred.
Yeah.
It's just sick,
There's I just can struggle to think of any other sport where the second half is just, it's literally downhill. The old saying of it's all downhill from here. Like, you are literally getting to the top of a mountain and then going downhill. It's like if you're looking at a soccer match, the second half doesn't become easier. And I'm not saying the downhill part's easy, but I guess climbing up a mountain to coming down a mountain, at least that part probably is a little bit easier.
Yes, from a physical standpoint, like a breathing. But because I'm still learning, very much so, probably at I'm more amateur level than some of my competitors there on the World Cup, obviously, which is cool. Sometimes what happens to me is I have put myself in such a delirious state on the first climb sprint that when I bend down to do my transition, my head is spinning. I'm like nauseous because I've gone full gas. And then I rip the skins and I'm still nauseous trying to ski down the gates and pick the line and go off the jump. I find that kind of fun, actually. And then after the event, I'm like, that was hilarious, like how I got my body through that. So it's difficult in a different way for me because I'm trying to recoup, focus, not hit a gate, make sure I'm turning before the gate and picking that fastest line possible to get down. So yeah, before a SkiMo event, when you're warming up and you're checking the course, I think my brain is you have to be really locked in because you're learning this, and I'm meticulous. Like I'm like, this is where I want to transition. This is what I want to do here. This is what I want to do here. So yeah, different, hard in a different way.
Is it? I mean, I don't know. You can't answer this if you've never taken part in a triathlon. I don't know if this is a bad comparison, but is it, say, in a triathlon, one athlete will be really good at the cycling, so-so at the running, and maybe not great at the swimming. Some will be good at all three, you know what I mean? But like, is it a case of with SkiMo that you can be absolutely fantastic at the ascent, but then maybe not so good at the descent part, and that's going to cost you? Or is it a case of you all have to be so, I guess, covered on both areas of it that it's kind of impossible? Like I couldn't just get an alpine skier who's really good at the downhill, make them ski up a hill, and they're going to be bloody fantastic. It's not that simple.
No, it's not that simple. And I think if you want to be one of the best, you have to be good across the board. It's very similar in mountain running. Okay, you have your climbers and you have your descenders and you have people that are also strong on the flat, maybe at sprinting. But the best of the best are good, if not just, don't have to be the best, but they have all their bases covered. And it's a complete athlete skill-wise in that area. So I think if you're smart, you're going to be good at all of them. And that's definitely been for me something that I've had to work on is where are my weaknesses? And every athlete, you learn this from a young age, no matter what you're doing. Keep improving your strengths, but focus on your weaknesses. And that's where a lot of joy comes from, is making progress in things that you're weak in because you can see it.
Is it a case of, say, a sport where you're a 100-meter sprinter, you're seeing that progress on the clock, right? So you know where you're making those gains. You're chasing time. But when you talk about seeing those improvements, is it time? Is it, what is it? What do you look at the end of the day and go, I've done bloody good today because I've achieved this XYZ goal?
I know I've done well when I enter and exit a transition zone cleanly. Right. Because if I can do that, and knowing kind of where I'm at right now with everything and the work I've put in, I will be extremely, extremely proud because inevitably my time will be quicker.
Great. Okay. And because I know Max explained that these sprints are like 3 minutes long in total. Like, these are ridiculously quick. So when you hear the word sprint, it's basically a sprint.
It is. It's kind of like the feeling of running an 800 meters all out on the track.
Wow. Because when I first heard this was a thing and you're like, oh, ski mountaineering, what is this? I'm, picturing like vertical limit with pickaxes climbing mountains and ropes and pulling up James Bond style before basically going off the side of the thing. I wasn't picturing a 3-minute thing that you blink and you miss and it's over with. Yeah. And it makes it, this style event makes it more friendly for people to watch and be introduced to the sport in that respect. Yeah, which again, learning of the other different disciplines, maybe there can be growth and maybe we can see that. You touch on sort of when you go to World Cups and you're learning, you've been thrown in the deep end. Your first World Cup in the vertical, you finished 20th, 42nd in the sprint in 2024. And then earlier this year on the season, the World Championships, 41st in the sprint, you were 19th in the vertical, and the Olympic test event, the sprint format at Bormio there, you were 55th in that event. Just sort of reflecting on where you started to where you are now. Obviously, we're recording this in the off season. You were telling me off air that there's only a couple more events that will lead into Milano Cortina, but how are you feeling? You're tracking sort of towards Italy next year, and kind of are you feeling positive that your results and everything are going to lead you to become Australia's first ever SkiMo female Winter Olympian?
you can't afford to not be positive. You have to, when you wake up every day and you have the program on what you're going to do that day, if you think that it's not going to be possible and that you are not going to make it, I don't think you will. And so I trust the process right now. I have introduced new things into my training program, which inevitably for me will mean improvement. And because, training things I didn't train before that I didn't know to train because I'm still learning. And that's going to be really exciting to apply on the world stage. Like I've moved my whole life for sport, and I have a habit of doing that. I haven't lived in my home country since 2019.
Wow.
Because I like to be where is best for my goals whilst I'm young and also see a new place. So I go all in. That's just who I am. I do it with everything. Yeah, I have a lot of interests, but that having a lot of interests helps all the interests inadvertently, I found, for my personality. So yeah, I'm positive, and I'm going to keep that mentality, and I will just keep doing the things every day that I need to do to address the parts that are not as strong as they should be leading into the next couple of events, and then hopefully Milano Cortina.
And with all of that in mind, with all those sacrifices and the length of time you've been away from family, friends, home, all of that, like, what would it mean to you, Lara? What would it mean if you get an email, a phone call? Hey, this is, Alyssa Camplin, Australian Olympic Committee. How you doing? You are officially going to the Olympics. And not only being an Olympian, the first ever, like you will forever go down as the first ever Australian female skimmer. Like, what would that mean to you?
I think I would have the world's best mental breakdown. With such a big positive spin, like take that so positively, because everyone is. When I say this, like everyone is, but I have like literally given everything. I have sold my car. I don't even have a home. Like I live out of suitcases, bouncing around, trying to save money, trying to be where the races are. I have coaches left, right, and center for different things, which is a privilege. But yeah, everything in my life right now is centered towards this goal. But I don't think it's talked about enough how big some of these sacrifices are. A good family member and friend told me, my cousin, you have to create home where you are. You have to have tactics for that, because something I really struggled with is not having a place of my own, a place to put my things. I'm just on the go a lot, and it does affect your mental health. And so actually funny things like the gym that I go to has become like a home. I know where everything is. I can put my music on. I'm like, okay. Or a pillow, that you take when you travel, just things, because it is a really hard lifestyle to live. It's a lot of instability, and sometimes you crave normalcy, whatever that is, but normalcy is like a mundane routine. I love hearing it described. That's why we do this show, Lara. It's a simple case of that, because, a tangent, but coming back to the point I'm trying to make is that we get asked, like, how do you do an Olympics podcast? They're every 4 years. Well, they're technically every 2 years for starters. And these athletes are doing a little bit more than just rocking up for 2 weeks every 4 years to go, hi, I'm representing my country. Like everything you're saying there, the sacrifices and everything. And at the end of the day, you're competing in much more than Olympics. It's not more just than that. So to hear kind of it described that way, and just the passion and drive towards this event, it's just so much to go there. And I think that is where it's so important for athletes like yourself to have that story, have that told out there, because Australia might tune in for 2 weeks next year in February. And particularly for our winter athletes, as we know, it's a little bit more of a struggle, because unfortunately we don't come from a country where we're not turning on at 7 o'clock at night and we're watching ski mountaineering, so it's sort of, it's one of those things where, it's everything that you were saying and more is just, it adds to the weight of you even just being able to show up on the start line next year. Yeah. And with that too, as someone that doesn't have a body that is the same, and I say this because of my condition, as most athletes, most people in the world, I want to speak about the story that I have behind that more, because I don't want people who have a similar condition to mine or the same to feel like they can't do it, because I mean, it is the biggest mental health struggle of my life. It does savage my life. But I've found tactics and tools, and I also love the learning process of like, wow, that's all I needed to do to get rid of this pain today. Okay, noted. But then maybe that stops working and you have to find something else. It gets exhausting, but it also, I have to embrace it as a challenge because it's very similar to the process of sport.
Tell us about the conditions. I don't want to try and pronounce it. I'm just going to say AS. So it's autoimmune, because I'm terrible at pronouncing things at the best of times, Lara, let alone trying to read that. So tell us a little bit about what it is and kind of what it does when it affects you in sort of what you were trying to achieve here.
Yeah, and now I try and talk about it with a bit of humor because it's the best way to handle it. It's called ankylosing spondylitis, but ankylosing is spelled anky, like spond, A-N-K-Y, losing, and you sure do lose. Basically, it's a condition of the spine and pelvis where it's an autoimmune, so processes in the body, they attack themselves. They get overly inflamed rather than the natural amount of inflammation that you should experience when you apply load or stimulus to get the adaptation. Rheumatological, so it's to do with joints and tendons and bones. So it's a rheumatological inflammatory autoimmune disease, kind of like rheumatoid arthritis, but not quite the same, mainly spine-based. But it does affect all your joints. And if not treated well, your spine grows new bones and it eventually becomes what is known as bamboo spine. Wow. So the vertebrae fuse. So obviously that renders you pretty immobile. And then there's some cases where you do end up in a wheelchair if it's just left untreated. So treatment is essential. I have treatment for it every month. It's very, very expensive. There's ways to do it, but like it is fair to say that the process to get this medication that I need is really tough. And I have to randomly fly back to Australia a lot in these competition seasons to obtain that, do my appointments, do my checkups as well. It would be a lot easier if I didn't do two sports, but such is the way. And yeah, there's just some days I'm in pain every day. I block it out because I'm so used to it. But like sitting in a car, sitting on a plane, sitting in this chair right now, I just feel it. It's like a burning pain in all my tendons. And some days running, it's just excruciating. And people go, well, why do you do it? Because the days that I don't feel a lot of pain, it's like superhuman. It gives me a taste of like what I could do. And some days when I race, I don't have any pain. And that's been the days I've done my best results. Ski mountaineering doesn't really give me as much pain. And so I've fallen so much in love with it because I feel unlimited. I'm rambling a lot here, but I think the main point is I've found a sport where I don't feel limited. And running, I used to feel unlimited. I used to not worry about my body. I used to just run and be able to like chase that clock. Now, oh my gosh, there's so many thoughts running through my mind about mitigation. In SkiMo, I'm finding that again, and I'm so excited for the future because I have years to explore this sport and not let my disease savage me as much. Yes, the polling can get really bad on my spine, but it's better than my whole body and the impact of running.
You know what I automatically thought of, Lara, when you were telling that story? When you started talking about that, the fact that you can grow extra bones in your spine. To me, automatically, it sounds like some sort of superhero movie, right? So that you're becoming a superhero. But then the fact that you are literally talking about how when you compete and you're pushing yourself to a point where you're not feeling pain, that makes you extra superhuman because it's sort of you are actually finding almost a way to do things that most of us are going to do and going to absolutely hate our lives because we're causing ourselves the pain by doing that. But it's the opposite for you. I feel there needs to be a superhero movie about you, Lara, because that just sounds an amazing way of progressing it.
I don't think I'm a superhero, but I have some things that I keep telling myself. I said, you're going to be in pain anyway, so you may as well get there faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the hardest challenge has been a lot about my mental health because I always remember that the athlete that I used to be when I was younger, and when my mental health starts to suffer because of the pain, I find it hard to fight. Like the fight gets taken away because you're fighting kind of your own body mentally, but then you're expected to rock up to a race and also fight. And then things get overwhelming in life. I'm like, I can't anymore. And So I've had to find techniques like meditation and really just time out being normal. Music has saved my life, because you don't need music doesn't, I'm just me. I just do the music. But yeah, I think all in all, having AS has been and will be for the rest of my life the toughest challenge. But I want to help people, and I want people to know that I have this condition so they feel like they are not limited by it. Yes, limits, but no, you can do things. And if I can help, I will help.
I'm going to ask about the music in just a second. I'm glad you brought that up because it's a great transition to what I was going to ask. But just in terms of what you're saying there of giving awareness, showing it out there, I mean, is this how common is this condition, and sort of like what can you do, I guess, when it comes to the awareness and helping others who are maybe going to see you on our screens, but hopefully you will be, let's be positive, in February, and that you can raise awareness. It might be some young girl, young boy watching this who thinks they're alone and all of a sudden know that there's somebody else out there doing this and helping them out.
Yeah, I can't remember the statistics off the top of my head. I used to know them really well, but it is more common in men than women for some reason. It affects quite a few people have it. Not, like a large amount, like it's in like the 1% or 0 point something, depending on the population size of the country and also factors affecting health. And then your question was about like how. What was the question?
How do you hope that sort of maybe when you're saying about bringing awareness to it, so that if people are seeing you at the Olympics, for example, and how can that help them, and what can you do, I guess, really to kind of help spread this word out more?
Yeah, well, I mean, just talking about it on podcasts like this, I'm trying to get better at Instagram by posting like reels that talk about it a little bit. And then I've connected with other men and women, athletes, non-athletes who have this condition, and we share tips and advice and help each other. And that makes you feel less alone in the process. I also talk about it on my website, less so these days, but with my skills around search engine optimization, aka SEO, and digital marketing, which I work in part-time right now, I know how to get that article to be quite highly ranking in the Google search results, Bing results. So if someone wants to search ankylosing spondylitis and running, or ankylosing spondylitis and skiing, my website can come up, and I think that it can help them. This is what I do in the mornings when I feel like this. This is what I found helps. This is what I found is really going to make it worse. Because I don't feel like I had that growing up. I got diagnosed at 21, and I started to feel the pains just a bit earlier than that. That's typical, is mid-20s, early 20s, to find out that that's what's savaging you. So yeah, using media to talk about it is a good thing, but sometimes it is hard to talk about it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And do you work with sports psychologists or other sort of people in those areas to kind of help when you're talking about, say, like when it comes to the mental side of it, and also not just necessarily that, but also with sport, and kind of help you get better as an athlete?
Yeah, I have. Right now, it hasn't been as consistent with the moves, but it has been an integral part of just the whole process, trying to achieve these high-level goals. Music,
though, you talked about that helping you. I loved a quote that I read in an interview you had done where you said you don't believe you'd be a great athlete without music. Now, people might not be aware. I guess they're aware if they're fans of yours and they're watching and listening to this, but for people who don't know, you are a bit of a musician, DJ, vocalist. You hit the decks when you're out there at ski resorts and everything. I've listened to some of your music. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. I mean, just tell us a bit more about this passion, because I think if I'd read correctly, you trained in opera. Is this like sort of thing? And you're doing electronic music like that? That's a bit of a shift in focus there.
Yeah, one day I'm gonna combine the two. It's just
that'd be great.
I'm on a pretty big goal right now, so I did limit myself as a person that likes to spread myself thin. I was like, we're focusing on sport, and we can do that when we have a bit of a break after big goals. And so I studied opera, and I sometimes I just have a sing. I think I had a sing yesterday. I just sang some French and German repertoire, and I was like, it's still there.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't. The feeling that I get after putting emotion into a song, Put the deck on the DJ deck on the balcony the other day, had a bit of a jam whilst looking at the mountains, and
Wow.
I think that's pretty fun. And afterwards, I feel better. I don't know. I just feel better. So I know that that's something super important in my life. And I picked up DJing in probably only 23. Had a DJ coach, as you do, taught me the foundations, helped me get my first gigs, and then things started to really take off. Now I do a lot of sport-based events because I'm already there and it's easy. This Sunday, I'll play the World Cup finals after party, which is really cool because it's most of my friends. And I don't know, whilst it's work, if the audience is friends, I can also kind of have a party too. But it was a way for me to keep music in my life whilst I focus on sport. I thought, making songs and singing right now is really hard because for me it's a long process. I can come up with lyrics like no tomorrow, but coming up with the music, I really need lots of calm, no pressure for that music to come out naturally. And unfortunately right now I just don't always have that environment with these goals. Whereas DJing, I learn the fundamentals, I experiment, I can create tracks on the go. I made the last mix for Dubix, the radio station in the UK, on trains and on a ski training camp. And whilst I was flying around the world, just carrying around this DJ deck and the recording materials for that. So I was like, okay, sweet. This medium allows me to access something I'm passionate about and travel the world and do sport. So I go, sick. And when I perform, it makes other people happy. The joy when you see someone smiling and dancing around because of the music that you've chosen and people having those energy surges at the same time you do and kind of being a bit in control of when you put those surges in or when you take some breathing space with different songs and tempos. Beautiful.
And the drop, right? I can imagine you building up, drop, boom, everybody goes crazy. I mean, I've always been intrigued by DJs and sort of I love dance music and wish I had the skills to do that, but I just can't imagine that feeling of a good old drop and everybody's going absolutely mental for your music.
Yeah, it's the energy and the shared energy. It's such a simple thing, like the fact that humans can collectively enjoy music and dancing. It really takes my mind off pressure and sport, which is not a bad thing, but it's a good thing in this respect. I need to take breathers.
I see one of your mixes on an interview you had done on a website, and do you go by DJ Solara? Is that your DJ name? Am I reading that correctly? Are you on? So I see this is on SoundCloud, but I mean, are you on Spotify? Are there places that people can actually listen to your music if they want to check you out?
So Spotify, if you use other artists' music and mixes, you can't put it on there without paying a whole lot of premiums and royalties.
Right.
And that's quite a process. And that's something worth exploring if you do have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
But the way to really make it into the DJ world is to obviously produce your own music. Again, takes time and you need to almost have a studio space that you can come back to. So that's in my future for sure. And I have been making songs on my laptop whilst I travel. But right now it's just mixes and really a lot of live gigs. And like what I think a lot of people don't know about DJing is you can go and play a gig and maybe you have the mix already recorded and you hit play and you add things to that. I learned the hard way because I moved from America. I don't have the coach anymore. I have some people that I speak to get advice. I actually realized a lot of the time I've been doing things wrong and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier now. I was like doing that in front of audiences for the longest time. And I play every set live. So I had felt for the longest time, and I still will do it, I'm picking the music as I go. I'm mixing it in real time. There is no things that are pre-recorded, but it's so fun. It's like a different kind of pressure.
But I find though, once you get used to something, even if you find there's an easier way, like, for example, like we're recording, I give a spiel before ever I interview a guest. I say, I treat it like it's live. I press record. I can edit anything out. I come from a radio background, Lara, and podcasting is easier, right? Because I can fuck up right now. The power can go out. I can call you back in 10 minutes. Let's get on with it. But there's something amazing about live radio where you know that like if something goes wrong, you're screwed, right? So like, it's kind of that process that I'm sort of comparing that to, where it's like, yeah, there's an easy way of doing something, but doing stuff on the fly, that almost seems more natural and more like, like fun. And if that's what you like, then keep doing it, I say.
The thrill, the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I've done it where I'm relying on internet and I have a lot of data on my phone to back up. And then the next track's not loading and this track's about to finish. And I'm telling you, I'm like, I've got to hit loop. We're going to loop this song until this track loads. I was like, the audience are going to go crazy because it's just going to keep looping. Yeah. But it's always worked out. I've always found a way. But yeah, there's a thrill and you can get the same kind of effect in sport.
Yeah. What would it mean? What would mean more to you then? Let's look at the grand picture here, Lara. I've got anything you can want. Olympic gold medal or Grammy for like best dance album? Like what would be that like peak mountain for you in those two realms there?
I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah, why not? Wwhy not?
I'm not like set on one outcome, because to get that one outcome is it's one person, It's so rare. But sometimes the process can lead you to that outcome, right? I'm not like, I'm specifically going for this exact thing, because such a small goal. But it's like, if the best that I can do leads to that outcome, that's awesome. And, when I eventually do release albums of my own music, if enough people enjoy it and I'm also receptive to feedback about it, then maybe it leads to something that good. Yeah. And that would be awesome. Yeah.
I look, I am sure there has been Olympic gold medalists who have won Grammys for like spoken word. Like they often win, they narrate a book, right? They'll win a Grammy. But I don't know, and somebody please fact check me, there's ever been an Olympian or an Olympic medalist who has ever won a Grammy for actually being a musician. So history that you could create. I know Kobe Bryant won an Oscar, didn't he, for doing a documentary, and he obviously won Olympic gold. But that could be something in your future, Lara. Like, just do both. The Grammy award-winning Olympic gold medalist. That sounds pretty cool.
Sounds cool. Look, the percentages are not in my favor, but what's life if you don't have a couple goals which are completely crazy and unreasonable?
Channel 9 are going to have a field day with you in Milan. And as always, you're welcome, Channel 9, when it comes to watching this interview, because I just think that level of, like, they're going to get you probably spinning some decks or something like that.
Always.
That
I'm well trained. I'm well trained in last minute DJ gigs. In fact, I would say this is probably this is my greatest accolade. The amount of times I've been asked to do a DJ set at the final hour in front of a big audience is phenomenal.
Wow.
I've done DJ sets straight off finish lines. I have done it with a deck that only half operates, and been at the casinos, the only place that has Wi-Fi in the small Swiss town, on a Sunday evening before the last minute DJ gig on the Sunday night. You just make it work.
Wow.
So anytime, anywhere.
So I'm just saying right now, the Olympics do have a history of having DJs in their ceremonies. I know Tiesto did Athens, Martin Garrix did Pyeongchang. So if they're stuck for a DJ come Milano Cortina for either the opening or the closing ceremonies, we need to give them your number, basically. That's what you're saying as well.
Yeah, just give me the call up. If, there's only an hour to spare, as long as the Wi-Fi is stable, we're good to go.
That'd be pretty embarrassing if the, big, massive ceremony. Oh, we're out of Wi-Fi. Uh-oh.
Someone hotspot me in the audience, please.
80,000 people in the San Siro for the opening ceremony. Somebody's got to have hotspot working.
Someone's got to have 5 bars.
Surely. It's not that bad in Milan, is it? I don't know about the small area where they're having the closing ceremony, but at least for the opening ceremony, right? They're gonna have that. Yeah. Lara, we always like to close out with a set of fun, get to know you style questions. These are a mix of fun, entertaining, and we close it out in a deep one. So I'm pumped to hear your answers for this one. What's one thing that you never leave home without when traveling to a competition? And you're not allowed to say skis. That's the obvious one.
A medium to listen to music on.
Medium?
Headphones or
Good answer. What's your go-to head? Like, what to you is a good headphone to listen? Because I'm actually in the market right now for some new headphones, so I'd like to know what's a good, like, bassy pair of headphones that are good to listening to that style of music.
Bassy headphones, okay. Bose.
Okay.
But if you want like active shocks,
Okay. All right. Good to know. I've been using the old pair of Beats Buds for 5 years, and I think it's time to invest. Actually, just backtracking a little bit when you talk about mixing the opera with the dance. Don't know if you ever heard, was it about 20 or so years ago, probably you're too young to ever remember, but Charlotte Church, the Welsh opera singer, did it was just called the opera song. I can't remember the name of the DJ who did it, but it was like literally her singing opera to full-on techno music. It was fantastic. If you've never heard it, look it up. So it can work. I think there is a market, and we've just, not quite opera, but was it Alex Ingrosso just did a song with Celine Dion, didn't he? With mixing her high pitch. So I like those blends of music that you don't think work together, but they do work together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can make it work. There's ways.
Yeah, definitely. Back to the questions. What's a traditional superstition you follow before every big competition?
Ooh. The hair has to be right, because I just have major hair issues. If the hair's getting in the way, everything goes to chaos.
Okay.
So I have to do some form of braid, something. I don't know. It's like going, not war, but I'm like, I've got to be a warrior today. I've got to dig deep. So it's like when you put the braids in, it's like time to go. Done,
ready to go. So once a competitor sees you with braids on, it's on. Basically, it's going down.
The more braids, the more confident I'm feeling. I upgraded my whole head for some of those verticals.
I'm gonna remember that watching it next year. Well, she's got braids. She's got an extra braid in. Shit's going down. Shit's going down right now, Milan. Yeah. Uh-oh, something's happened. I'm going to love your answer for this one then. You're obviously on the music page. What's a song that is on every one of your pre-competition playlists no matter what?
Right now, over listening to them, it's Bianco, When Though.
Okay.
And though it's not like you would text it to someone if you're a kid. Like
T-H-O? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'll have to look that one up. It's interesting when I love it when we get people answer ones that it's automatically not familiar with. And you're like, okay. And then you add it to the playlist. And it's like, okay, I'm learning. That's a good one. The most unexpected or funny DM that you have ever gotten?
Whoa. Ooh. I just get a lot of people DMing me who are going to come to a set that I'm doing. Can you put this random song in a different language into the set?
Wow.
And I Google it, figure out the BPMs, the key, the Camelot key, and I'm like, can I? And be just this one person, maybe they bought a friend who's like, yeah, in the audience. Everyone else is like, what the fuck is this?
Wow. What's the most obscure language that somebody's asked you to do it in?
Polish.
Polish. Okay. Sure.
It's a cool language and they have some great music.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I have no idea what it's saying. So I have to go figure that out too.
You just want to translate that to make sure it's not like some, incredibly horrible song about some message that you don't want to play. Wow. Fantastic. I love that question. Always brings out some eclectic answers. The weirdest thing you've ever eaten at an international competition, and did you like it?
Can I say when it wasn't at a competition, but it was at a training camp with lots of elite athletes?
Of course you can.
Okay. They absolutely stitched me up. And if any of you are listening, you know who you are, and I won't forget it. So there I was. A great story. I'll make it short though. In Moab at a training camp, and on the menu, they were ordering for the table. They said, "You got to try, Lara, because you like seafood, the Rocky Mountain oysters."
Oh, okay. Yep.
I was naive at the time, I guess, and said, "Okay." And out they came, and it looked like chicken nuggets. And I looked at the person who ordered them. I said, "Why are they fried?" I said, "Is this an American thing? Do you just fry the oysters?" He's like, yep, we just fry the oysters. I said, "Okay, I'll try it," because I am really open to trying everything. So I tried it. It's squishy. I'm going, this is really weird. Is this what happens when you fry the oysters? And he's, yeah. And then everyone's laughing, and I go, "Guys, come on, what?" And they're like, "Dip it in the sauce, dip it in." It's cow's testicles.
Yep.
Yeah.
I went to Colorado once, and I got duped into the same thing. I didn't actually go through with it because I think I Googled it beforehand because they were just laughing too much. But that's pretty, Good job though in going through with it. I'm very impressed.
Yeah. Never again. It's not. Some people love it. It's not for me.
It is, and it's sort of that interesting thing, isn't it? The way they name it, like it's just got to be a deliberate thing, right? Like that's just like somewhere someone's thought this would be hilarious. Let's dupe it in, and then we fall for it. So, let's go on the positive side of food, though, Lara. What is your ultimate guilty pleasure meal after a big competition?
It's not a meal, but I'll easily slam a whole block of chocolate with noisettes, hazelnuts.
Good answer. Like it. You've also you're a bit of a foodie. You've got a cookbook on your website that people can download, can't they? So you're into the sort of cooking and nutrition and everything along those lines as well.
Yeah, I was a while ago. I don't have the time these days, but I used to spend a lot of time like making snacks that I would look forward to coming home from training to. So yeah, I just had that as like quick things that you can cook and enjoy when you come home from training.
To stick to the chocolate though, that's
now
all you
it's
can
simple as good.
Yep. Good answer. That works. If you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, what event would you choose, and how do you think you'd fare?
Let's pick a winter event because it's in alignment. I want to do some slopestyle.
Yes.
I want to be riding this. I'm going to be going off jumps. I was testing out some boxes during my college days at Boise State, and I was clearing the ones that aren't, I was not clearing rails, no way, but the boxes, yes, I had a blast.
Great.
Injury risk level, super high, but like, let's just say that I'm a DJ slopestyle Olympic skier.
You would fit very well into that. Like give Tess Cody a real run for her money, I think, like push her out there. I could see it. That works. I like that.
Yeah.
If your Olympic journey were a movie, Lara, what would the title be and who would play you? And I've got some help here if you need it as well.
Wow. Whew. Who would play me?
Have you ever been compared to an
actor
actor or anyone that sort of said you look like anybody at all?
Well, yeah, I get compared to the actor on the first Gladiator film who's like the wife of the main Gladiator dude.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
I can see. That's not, it's, yeah, no, I know who you're talking about. I'm going to Google that. But no, actually, as soon as it's always whenever somebody says it, I'm like, okay, I see it. Yeah, okay.
But I don't know if she would play me in the film.
Well, she was, I think she was in the sequel as well, wasn't she? Connie Nielsen. I knew it was Connie. I was going on right with the Connie page there. I was going to say Connie Britton, different Connie, but Connie Nielsen. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I need like a female actor that's kind of a little bit, she's intelligent but a little bit rogue. Like you just never know if she's running, skiing, DJing, what country she's in on a random Tuesday afternoon. Just eclectic.
I've got some. They've given me some tips. I've gone to ChatGPT. We like ChatGPT because they help you out. They've actually suggested, you upload a photo. Like, who does she resemble? They've gone with Daisy Ridley as an option. I can see a bit of Daisy Ridley there. Good answer. Florence Pugh. She's a bit like out there. Like she's like see where that's going on that one there. Mackenzie Davis. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I can see that one. Is it? I can never pronounce her name, but is it Saoirse Ronan, the Irish actress? She was in, I think, Little Women, and I think she was in that Little Bird movie that got nominated for an Oscar a few years ago. I can never say her name properly.
I wouldn't know. I'm out of the pop culture.
I was a few years old, that one anyway, so that's fine. But the other ones, so what we do here in terms of movie titles, so we get ChatGPT to give us some suggestions here. I'm going to say the 10 they gave me weren't fantastic, but the one I liked they used the term white horizon. And what we've done with that is I've gone and gotten them to do a mock movie poster to see what that could look like. And I'm going to hold this up. Our audio listeners, check out our video version as well. So this is what they think it would look like for you, Lara. White horizon, the journey to the summit.
That's scary.
There's a gold medal on that mountain, and if you look carefully, I think there's a koala there and kangaroos in the snow with Australian flags around you there.
Oh my gosh. A koala is watching me. That makes me so happy.
Look at that. They are. There you go.
Yeah.
I feel we need to get like some DJ headphones or something, or like some sort of deck going on there in the background, but that's not bad.
I think that we need some pit vipers over the eye.
Yeah.
And my pack, it can have like some headphones hanging off. The only problem is this can't be a sprint because the helmet is mandatory. So I'm doing a vertical right now, I think.
Right. Okay. Because you got like, it's like a bandana, and I'm trying to work what's out on that. I don't know if they're kangaroos or what they've put on the bandana there, but yeah, okay. We could do some tweaks. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it. The journey to the summit.
The journey to the summit. The thing that I'm worried about, I'm going to zoom in just for you there. Just a gold medal. It just looks like they've just put like a gold plate on top of the mountain there. And you're not even like, you're going up, like the gold medal's to the right of you there, or the left of you, I should say. It's kind of like, come on, it should be in front of you. But anyway, you know.
It looks like I'm doing it individual then, illegally without a helmet.
There's your koala. There's
line.
Little Kevin the koala chilling you on there under the flag.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't cross the track, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We don't want to get you disqualified there. The penultimate one for you, Lara. What is one question you are tired of being asked, and what is the one you wish people would ask you instead?
I guess it's like a statement. It's like, well, people ask why am I running so much if my focus is skiing?
Mm.
And I say to them, well, you know, it's a seasonal sport, but the thing is, it's like, I just see life as like you're given the gift of time, and what you do with your time is what you love. And I love to run in the mountains. My sole purpose, if you remove all the competitions, if you remove all sponsors, money, whatever, that's noise, is being in the mountains, in the forest. I don't like crowded trails. I can't stand it. Crowded towns, no. But like kind of alone, maybe you see one hiker, one other runner, and you can listen and you can see and realize like what a privilege it is to be there. And so I explained to them, well, if I'm going to move in the mountains and in the backcountry on skis, I'm going to do it in the summer on my feet and see the same things as the seasons change. And in different times of my life. And then sometimes I come back to that same trail when it's autumn, when it's spring, when it's winter, and I see how the changes in nature and what I was feeling last time I was there at that time, and then reflect back on how I'm proud of myself for how I've grown. So it's more a spiritual thing, and it is possible to do well at both. Yes, well has a level, what type of well, but yeah, I've done historical results for Australia in trail running, and really want to continue pushing that barrier, and putting Australia on the map in that sport too, because why not? I'm here. It's there. I'll do it.
Great answer. I like that. That's fantastic to hear. And going back to the very beginning of the interview, who knows? Could be an Olympic sport one day. You could be a dual Olympian, triple, whatever, in two sports across two summer and winter. Brisbane 2032, we could have it by home Olympics. Who knows?
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
I don't know about Mount Gravatt being a good mountain to run up, but I mean, you know, send you to Mount Kosciuszko or something like that. You know, that's our highest mountain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go that way.
Yeah.
Last one for you, Lara. This is the deep one. What's one lesson you've learned from losing that you think has shaped you more than winning?
You know, this is a very recent lesson for me, like this past week, the biggest learning, because I put so many hours of training and pushing through for this one race, and I failed epically. Actually got heat stroke, medical conditions, still trying to recover. I questioned if I should quit. The reason is I was like, my AS, it just won't quit. It's so painful. It's really in my mind all the time. Like I'm never going to be what I used to be or what I aim to be, because of this. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to take some time off. I am going to go and drink a beer. I'm going to go and hang out with people who don't do sport and do these things. And then just run with no expectation, no worrying about my form, because I have problems with that with some of extra fusions in my spine, and no expectations. And I have started now to find the love and why I do it again. And I think too much competition, too much self-pressure, and then failing epically after just giving your all really put me on a process of being like, okay, maybe I don't quit. Maybe the next race doesn't go as I hope, but what if I just don't hope anything? What if I just run?
Great answer. The Forrest Gump mentality. I just started running, and then, you know, kept going. And how many years did he run for? I love that answer, Lara. That's why we always like to end on that question, because it brings a good wrap around to the interview and everything on those lines. As I mentioned, you've got a great website, people want to check you out on your website, social media, because I'm sure so many people are going to get on board of your journey, Lara, between now and Milano Cortina and beyond, because I definitely see Australia's going to fall in love with you in just a couple of months' time. So where can people follow you? Where can people check this out on the way to Milano Cortina?
Yeah, Instagram is the best place. Bit of a goof on there sometimes. It's Lara_Hamilton. And then plan to give the website a bit of love here soon. And then SoundCloud's where I post my mixes and all of that.
Yeah, I love the SoundCloud. I'm going to check more of those out for sure. And I keep the website up because, again, you do podcasts like this. The hosts get very happy because it's all in one nice little tight little bow, and we can find areas and going along those lines with that. But Lara, it's been such an honor to learn more about you, your story, the sport, and everything else along the lines. We're going to cross all those fingers, toes, and everything for Milano Cortina, beyond the music and all that kind of stuff. And we will get you back on after the Olympics next year, and we'll hear more about your incredible journey as you keep on going on the up in everything that you're doing in life.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.